Now, this is a direct quote that was given, that Matthew is bringing in this quote from Isaiah chapter 9 to show and demonstrate that Jesus was the one who fulfilled this. That is why literally he says this was to fulfill what was spoken through Isaiah the prophet. And that is why he's supporting what he previously said there in 12 and 13 based upon the fulfillment of prophecy. Now, check it out. Jump over to Isaiah chapter 9 real quick. Guys, if you're getting any value out of this Bible study, and if you want to do something for Christ today, it's really quite easy. If you don't have the gift of teaching or evangelism, you may have a gift of mercy or service, and you want to ensure the gospel moves forth, all you have to do is simply hit that like button. You guys know what that thing does. It helps us push the message of truth out. So if you want to do something for Jesus today, hit that like several times through the video, comment, interact with that. You guys know how YouTube works. I don't have to explain it to you. And you probably kind of get burned out on hearing a lot of that, but that's how you can simply do something for Jesus today. In fact, every time we come on, you can do that, and you will be doing something significant for your Lord and Savior. And here again, let's confirm. When you get to Isaiah, of course, the Jews are well tuned with this book. My brothers know the book of Isaiah. So Isaiah chapter 8, that section before 9 here that Jesus or that Matthew quotes, Isaiah chapter 8 contains prophecy of the coming judgment. But chapter 9 here, in which Matthew substantiates a fulfillment of prophecy by what Jesus did and why he did it. Chapter 9 here is about God promising the Messiah and the signs thereof, because he says there in chapter 9, picking up in verse 6, "For a child will be born to us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders. And his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace." Verse 7, "There will be no end to the increase of his government or of peace on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from then on and forevermore." Now, here's the deal. Okay, you ready? Now, let's jump in. Now, every now and then we need to grind a little bit deeper through the scriptures. Now, I love doing that, but I realize that not everyone does. But look, I'm never going to make apology for the scriptures. Check it out. We're going to grind a little bit, okay? Now, here's part of the problem. The Jews, in which Matthew's writing, they rejected Jesus as Messiah. It was a fulfillment, according to Jesus' own words. It was a literal fulfillment of Isaiah chapter 6, verse 9. From Jesus' own words there in verse 14. That's why the Jews will keep on hearing, but they will not hear. They will see, will not see. But while God intentionally blinded the Jews back in this day, the reason why my brothers, and even today, many who aren't illuminated by the Spirit to recognize Jesus as Messiah as a Jew today, in their case, they're blinded based on Isaiah chapter 6. But why is that? Or how did God do that is the better question. Are you ready for this? Now watch this. Practically the reason why or how God blinded them is because when they're thinking Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7, they knew these verses. But verse 6, "For a child will be born to us, the government will rest on his shoulders. His name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father." Now, the Jews are expecting the King of Kings that will come about in the same way. But here's the problem. Verse 6 speaks about Jesus' first coming, the advent of Christ coming through a manger, right? Living among us, going to the cross. But verse 7, they were trying to see through the lens, because that's how my Jewish brothers, that's how they evaluate everything, through the scriptures. But they were practically blinded from verse 7. Verse 6 is about the first advent of Christ. Verse 7 speaks about the second coming of Christ. And so when they, case in point, bear with me now, verse 7, it says, there will be no end to the increase of his government or of peace. That was the Jews' standing question. They're saying, wait a second, Jesus, if you're the Messiah, if you're the king offering the kingdom, where's the peace? Because look, there was no peace in this day. And then what about the government? They expect the king, in which he will, to be ruling and reigning as the one. And all of the other kingdoms will be submissive underneath him. What they were seeing from Jesus, were they seeing that from Jesus? Let me know there in the comments. Were those Jews of the day seeing Jesus ruling through a throne of David over his kingdom and establishing justice? Were they seeing that? Because that's what verse 7 says. There will be no end to the increase of the coming Messiah's government or of peace, or the throne of David and over the kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from then on and forevermore. That's talking about the second coming. But in between verse 6 and 7 of Isaiah chapter 9, what comes before chapter 9? Isaiah chapter 6. God already prophesied that this coming, the commission of Isaiah granted to and about the Jews, he clearly states there that the Jews would be blinded at the arrival of the Messiah, given in verse 6 and 7 of chapter 9. So, in summary, the Jews, of course, would see this as one act. And so they were evaluating Jesus as they were evaluating the world around them through what the Isaiah scrolls had given and granted. And they're saying, well, if Jesus is the king, where's the kingdom and where's all the peace? And where's his big government at? Why? Because they also knew, guys, one of my favorite areas of scripture, they also knew when the kingdom is on earth, Jesus will sit there on the throne. There's two thrones that are mentioned there in the book of Revelation. We won't get into that, but the heavenly throne and the Davidic throne, we know Jesus, a descendant of David, he will sit on the Davidic throne when the kingdom on earth is about. And we know it will be after he touches his feet on the Mount of Olives. The Jews also evaluated and knew that the people will live in Jerusalem and there will be no more curses. They will live in security. Zechariah 14:11. Now this will be the plague which the Lord will strike all the peoples who have gone to war against Jerusalem. Their flesh will rot while they stand on their feet. Their eyes will rot in their sockets, and their tongue will rot out of their mouth. So they're looking and going, wait a second. Has this happened? There's no. So they're perplexed. They can't see Jesus as the king. And it will come about anyone who are left out of the nations that went against Jerusalem will go up from year to year to worship the king, the Lord of hosts, and to celebrate the Feast of Booths. They're looking around going, man, if Jesus is the one, this is not happening. Does that make sense, guys? Prophetically, we have to evaluate everything that happens around us through the lens of scriptures. Specifically, keep in mind, let's think about this prophecy as a whole. How much unfulfilled prophecy is left to be fulfilled out of this Bible? Let me just, since my Bible kind of comes apart on me right here, I'll show you basically with my Bible. Okay? Since the spine of my pages come apart, this would be an easy way for me to show you. Now, you see that? 80% of all prophecy has been fulfilled with 100% accuracy. There's only 20% left of remaining unfulfilled prophecy, guys. So we have the confidence to know everything that was said that was going to happen has come to pass with 100% accuracy. Case in point, since we're talking about Isaiah chapter 44, ironically, 200 years before a man comes on the scene by the name of Cyrus and issues a specific announcement and decree in light of the Jews, was said it was going to happen 200 years before the man came about. Not only what his name of the man what his name will be, but also what he will do. Isaiah 44 and 28 is one of these instances. It prophesied that it was a man by the name of Cyrus who says that he is my shepherd and he will perform all my desire. And he declares of Jerusalem, she will be built. That's the declaration. And of the temple, your foundation will be laid. Well, sure enough, Cyrus, the founder of the Persian Empire, he conquers Babylon, Daniel 5 and 30. And the next year, which was 200 years after Isaiah wrote this, sure enough, he comes, the founder of the Persian Empire, he conquers Babylon and issued a decree that the Jews could return and build the temple. That's chronicled in Ezra chapter 1 through 4. And in doing this, Cyrus was serving God's purpose accordingly. What happened? Interestingly enough, 200 years later, Cyrus comes about, just as Isaiah prophesied would happen. And so in the same way, guys, there's only 20% left of unfulfilled prophecy. The easiest way, like we covered earlier, the easiest way for you to spot unfulfilled prophecy, a portion of the whole, of it being fulfilled, if you're seeking to spot it, all you got to do is see wherever one studies, churches, wherever, if there is more of an emphasis, if there's more of an emphasis on storytelling, commentary, this is what the scriptures mean. If there's more of an emphasis on that, then what you're seeing here is a fulfillment of 2 Timothy chapter 4. It says, preach the word, be ready in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, and exhort. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves in accordance to their own desires, and will turn away their ears from the truth, and will turn aside to myths. Spotting that is quite easy. And so that is why here at Bible Study Now, we aim to allow the scriptures to explain the scriptures. Why? Because what the word means is what the word says. And what the word says is what the word means. Hey, we'll see you next time.